Okay, is everybody ready? It's 11 o'clock. And I hope that you had a chance to go grab a cup of coffee. Our two speakers are ready, Brenda Wawire and Peter Ojambo from the University of Kansas. And of course, the title of their talk, Ojambo, a standards-based approach to introductory Kiswahili.
Thank you very much, Carl. My name is Brenda and my colleague, here with my colleague, Dr. Ojambo from the University of Kansas. And we're going to just share with you our work on a Kiswahili textbook that we've been working on over the last few years. Last year, not last year, but the last time we had the conference, we shared a bit of what we had worked on. So we're just going to provide more updates and maybe have a discussion on some key lessons that we've learned throughout this process. Yeah, but so the title of the book that we're working on is Ojambo, a standards-based approach to introductory Kiswahili. This book is a year one, it's a year one or rather elementary Kiswahili textbook, and it's structured into 7 chapters. So currently the work that is complete spans from chapter 1 through chapter 4, and it's just coming off the press through the University of Kansas Press. The book is accessible through the KU Open Education Resource website. It can be downloaded as a PDF document or as a Word document. And so with this, one of our goals is to really share and circulate this information so that our instructors or people interested in learning Kiswahili can be aware that the resources are available and they can also access them and use them to really enhance their Kiswahili language proficiency and cultural knowledge. Through the KU bookstore, the materials can be purchased as hard copy, and the cost of the textbook is $28. So currently we have the first 4 chapters complete, and we are working on the chapter 5 is also complete. We have a complete draft of chapter 5. We're currently working on chapter 6, and the only remaining chapter to be drafted is chapter 7, which we anticipate to be complete by the end of summer 2023. So again, we're encouraging instructors to adopt this material or resource that since we'll have all the 7 chapters complete by the end of summer, it can be adopted or tested over the next academic year. So because we have full content that can be covered over the whole academic year, ready and available for use. Yeah, so here's a brief outline of the textbook. It's, like I said before, it comprises of 7 units. They're all thematically organized, and the content in the materials can cover up to 150 contact hours of instruction, which can be disseminated through 5 hours per week or 15 weeks over a duration of 15 week semesters, and 5 hours per week for 10-week quarters, depending with the structure of the institution. So the book basically provides a foundational understanding of the Kiswahili language structure, and it also provides a lot of awareness, cultural awareness for Swahili speakers, because you find that in East Africa, there's so many communities or cultures that have Kiswahili as a common language. So studying the language or studying the materials presented in the textbook really provides you an insight of these people who share a variety of cultures, but then they have a common language, which is Kiswahili. Through instruction over a duration of 1 year, students are exposed to basic Kiswahili grammar, and they can build a core vocabulary of up to approximately 1,000 words that they should be able to use in day-to-day communication. Again, each chapter comes with cultural reflections, and one of our goals is to really enhance intercultural competence among the students. So each chapter comes with cultural reflections in form of questions where the students read a cultural note, and then there are questions for them to reflect on and compare cultures. So the Kiswahili culture versus their own culture and other cultures that they're familiar with. I'll talk briefly about the design, and then I'm going to share with you one chapter that so that you can be able to see some of how all of these elements look in the text. So the book is based on the backward curriculum design. And by that, we start by all the sections in the module start by identifying the desired results or the desired outcomes based on the thematic content. And then the second aspect is we determine the acceptable evidence. What are the assessments that we'll use in the text for how will learners demonstrate that they have acquired the desired competencies. We design several assessments that target particularly communicative, the aspects of communication, interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational skills. So we design those activities so that they can use and they can guide an instructor at the end of the chapter so that the different aspects that they can use to get that the students understand the content that is being taught. And then throughout the chapters, students practice all the three modes of communication, interpretive, interpersonal, and presentation. And again, the elements of culture are tied throughout the chapter, where learners are constantly comparing their own cultures, versus their Kiswahili cultures. And then we also endeavor and provide suggestions on how instructors can form communities within the classroom or connect learners with the communities that they live in, because students in this book are on a study abroad trip. So they have to engage with the community and make connections through their learning process. So I'm going to next, I'm going to share the chapter that we want to just give you a quick view of what the chapters look like. So we finished, so chapter 1 is on introductions, where the students on a study abroad trip go and meet their host families. They receive at the airport. They have to introduce themselves, learn about or get to meet new people within the new environment. And then chapter 2 is about family, and chapter 3 is about daily activities and hobbies, because once they get into a new culture, a new setting, they plan, they come up and they get used to their daily activities. So we see them talking about daily activities in East Africa and also comparing it with their own cultures. And chapter 4 is where they live, housing, where we live. So I'm going to take you to the book document so we can just go through the chapter briefly. Yeah, so chapter 4 is about, I hope you're able to see my screen. Chapter 4 is about where we live, and we begin with asking a few essential questions. So with regard to where we live, we want students to be able to, by the end of the whole chapter, we want students to have awareness or be able to respond to some of these key questions. How do families or households share and use space in East Africa? Why is it important to welcome and host guests with hospitality? How do East Africans perceive the notion of personal space? What is the nature of housing and accommodation arrangements in East Africa? And how do they differ in their own countries? So there we can already see an element of cross-cultural comparison. How similar or different are urban and rural communities between East Africa versus their own culture? So here we really want learners to have a lot of awareness or understanding of housing. There's so many aspects in terms of community setup that are similar between their own cultures and versus the East African culture. And this also just helps to break some of the stereotypes that people have or students may come into the classroom with. So just posing these questions at the beginning of the chapter prepares them to reflect upon their own understanding of different elements, while also learn new content and cultural information about East Africa. Then based on the backward curriculum design, we begin by coming out or designing the desired outcomes by the end of the unit. So by the end of the chapter, these are, I'm not going to read through all of them, but these are the expected outcomes, things that learners should be able to demonstrate they can do by the end of the chapter. And you can pay attention to some of the descriptive verbs. They're very measurable. The things that an instructor can be able to really pay attention to and focus, and even train students to be able to monitor their own learning progress so that they can be able to assess what they're capable of doing. Step 2 is and this chapter, this section, each of the section is led by a guiding question. What will be acceptable evidence of the student's knowledge and ability? So here is where we've designed key assessment tasks based on the communicative, based on the different modes of communication for learners to be able to demonstrate competency in the targeted outcomes. So based on the 3 modes of communication, we have interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational skills. And then stage 3 is the learning activities that the instructor uses. So these are the main instructional activities that the instructor and students engage in constantly throughout the learning process. Here, 4.1 is about familia yangu pokezi. This is my host family. So here, students are basically describing the house that their host family lives in. So they learn vocabulary. They learn vocabulary of describing a house. So what are the rooms contained in a house? What are the things contained in that house? And they're able to talk about and describe to someone else the whole house of a host family where they live in. And as they move, so the chapter begins with a model. It could be a model dialogue or a model monologue, where then for the students just gets to practice some of the key vocabulary items or vocabulary terms that are necessary to understand housing. For instance, the ones that I've highlighted here are, just the main rooms in a house, the bedroom, the living room, the dining area, and the kitchen. So we begin with a model, and the 2 main students in the chapter are a female and a male, and we somehow vary, we vary the content. So if this house is, like you can see, there are variations based on the plan. The plan for this one is slightly different from this one. Therefore, students are able to practice more vocabulary, and they continue to build like that. And then, so the initial one was a monologue, a model monologue. And then we have several communicative tasks also. This is a model dialogue where students also are able to be exposed to the sentence structure or language chunks that mirror the way native speakers talk about housing, for instance. And then there are several activities, practice activities, where they are assessed on the vocabulary that is being targeted, and several exercise or practice activities for them to use the language chunks that they have been exposed to, as well as the vocabulary. So the way the activities are structured is we have interpersonal tasks. So this icon here is an interpersonal task. So you can see, describe the interior of your home to 2 or 3 classmates, while one of your group mates is describing their homes. Take notes and to help you prepare for your presentation. So this just mirrors the monologue that the students that was modeled at the beginning. Present a description of the interior of one of your classmates' home to the class. So they have to listen to a classmate's presentation and then come and present and talk about that presentation. And then we have, so this is a presentational activity. It could be presentational writing, can also be presented as presentational speaking. We have interpretive listening activities also embedded through, because the goal is to model the three skills. Yeah, and then we have several grammar activities embedded within each of the units. And a grammar session is comprises of grammar notes that just describes the grammatical aspects. And then there are mechanical activities that follow each grammar introduction so that students can be able to practice using the grammar content. Yeah,
Brenda,
so that's the.
Brenda, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we are at time. I'm going to have to ask a question that you received in the chat. And then I think it'll be time for us to move on to our next talk. But the question was about, they noticed that you're using lots of video, a lot of images, either line drawings or photographs, and they wanted to know where these came from. Did you create them yourselves, or are these open images?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So these ones are open access images, the ones in color, but the ones that have illustrations, we have a book illustrator that is drawing most of the images for us. So like these ones are drawings. We have an illustrator that is working on them.
Oh, I see. Yeah, they're very nice. Yeah. Brenda, could you just remind people again when it's coming out this summer? Is that correct?
So chapter 1 through 4 is out. It's ready. It's ready and can be accessible through the KU bookstore. But chapters 4 through 7, the remaining 3 chapters will be out by summer, end of summer.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay.